Welcome into the Irish NFL show. Instant reaction to the AFC Championship game that has just concluded 10-7. Yes, the New England Patriots are back in the Super Bowl, having beaten the Denver Broncos on the road with a 10-7 victory, which became essentially a snow game in the second half of very little action. And I'm not sure, Ciaran, where we have a lot to talk about. We had some nice moments in the first half, and after the game in the end was a slugfest. Missed field goals galore from both sides, and ultimately it came down to one or two possessions. The Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. I know you picked them. Probably didn't play out in the manner in which you expected.
No, and we probably should have known even before the conditions deteriorated. We probably should have seen from the start both teams started 3-and-out, and it was just a struggle for both teams to do anything with the ball. Run games, we discussed where each team might get an advantage during the week, and expressed a concern with the run game for the Broncos, and it turned to be that way. I mean, it was really, really hard for them to get anything going. McLaughlin wasn't able to give Harvey any help. And, you're not going to win a conference game with one running back at 47 yards. A tough, I don't want to say it's a tough watch because it was two teams that were pretty evenly matched. I thought Stidham did a decent job, despite the fact he wasn't asked to do a huge amount. He went 17 of 31 for 133 yards. He had 23 on the ground. So he wasn't the contributing factor. It was just, two teams that are just defensive juggernauts. Offense had a real tough time getting going. And as you said, the two missed field goals from each team really hampered the ability to get any kind of edge. And then as the snow got heavier and the conditions got harder, it was just really tough grinding out those yards. Similar to last week with the Bears game, it was hard to throw the ball in those conditions and get any sort of any positive yardage on it. But the Pats are back in. Not the way we probably thought it, but that's a tough team. That's a really gritty team. They've already taken on Vrabel's personality. They gutted it out. And, the way they kept giving the ball, it's almost like they kept giving the ball back to Denver in the fourth quarter, saying, come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. And Denver just couldn't answer that call.
Yes, Mike Vrabel winning the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl as a player, now will coach in the Super Bowl for the Patriots. It's some story after a couple of years back in New England. I just want to call out a couple of things in the game, and I know we always have different opinions around what we like to call situational football. Bear in mind that the weather was actually on the radar. It wasn't the case that this weather came out of blue. Like, okay, maybe not the nature of the snow which they endured over the course of the second half, but the Broncos, who we never believe were going to make the huge points, are in a situation where I wouldn't say the momentum was all with them, but they dealt with the early conditions better. They got the touchdown to Sutton. They have a nice drive going. It's 4-1. And I know, like, the way the league has played out time and time again, analytics, you go for it. But bear in mind, you've got sorry, not a rookie. You've got your second string quarterback. You're missing your fourth string running back. You're playing against a team that were struggling to move the ball at that time. Should Sean Payton have kicked the field goal? I know time and time again, we get into it back and forth on the show. But this one tonight, if ever I felt like justification in my thoughts around why you should kick field goals, 10 points up potentially. Bear in mind that they knew the conditions was coming. Surely he should have been thinking a double-digit lead against a Patriots team that can't move the ball. This is what we need to do. We need to be cautious and take that field goal.
And I'm sure that's probably going to be the first question asked at the press conference for Peyton. I mean, we can second guess it, and I'm sure he was trying to, take some of the early momentum he had with that Sutton touchdown and try and turn it into 14. But I mean, if you looked at social media, I mean, everyone's obviously, quarterback and Monday morning quarterback, but everyone thought the point should have been taken. And I mean, you can't say, obviously the Pats won by 3, but you can't say that was a determining factor, but it was a slight momentum change for the Pats. And when it comes down to the crunch with a team not overburdened with offensive stars, probably should have taken the 3 points and made it a 10-0 lead. But, Peyton is the kind of coach who, you can't tell him nothing. He's going to try to outfox everybody and outthink everybody, outsmart everybody. And I'm sure he'll say that, he'll go for it. He would have gone for it on fourth down 10 times out of 10. But that's just the way that the league goes now. Fourth down is it's almost a given these days that coaches are going to go for it on fourth and short. So it's hard to say. It would have been a nice momentum builder for the Broncos, especially with the challenges they had on offense. But I mean, it's all second guessing at this stage. But I'm sure Peyton will say it was always going to be a fourth down. Go for it.
The nature of the game really kind of, I suppose, points to a turnover, a critical turnover, a key point in the game, and that's what it was, really, wasn't it? That's ultimately where the Patriots touchdown came from today. Drake May scrambles in for the touchdown on the second play of that drive, where they got great field position. In a way, it's probably a relief that they did get the touchdown, because straight away the conversation even prior to that was that a fumble recovered for, it should have been a walk-in touchdown for the Patriots defense. Obviously, they readjusted the initial intentional grounding call, gave the ball to the Patriots. Patriots fans were up and already kind of texting saying we should have a touchdown there. That was a walk-in touchdown. Obviously, the play is called dead. Ultimately, they had to give the ball to them, but look, they've gone in. But that's what it was, ultimately, wasn't it? It was down to these slight margins. We spoke about it on the group, even when they pinned them late. It was going to take a turnover in order to get them in position to win the game. It just didn't come, and obviously there's a missed field goal late. But I mean, you can write off field goals. We know we joke about kickers, but you can write off kickers in those conditions today.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. There can't be there's no blame for the kickers in those conditions. But I mean, it's almost like Stidham had to make something happen. I mean, you can't just keep handing the ball off to your running backs or trying to make a play with your legs. At some stage in the game, he had to try to make a play. And that fumble, that backward pass that the Pats thought they had a touchdown with was kind of, him trying to force the game. I mean, he did look pretty comfortable in the first quarter, after getting a touchdown for Sutton. And I thought he looked very relaxed and comfortable, but that's before the conditions deteriorated, and that's before obviously that fumble that led to May running it in soon afterwards. And again, that throw towards, just before the 2-minute warning in the second half that was picked up by Gonzalez, that was just almost like a Hail Mary. And that ball just held up and floated in the air. I'm sure he'll want that one back, but he had to make a play at some stage. I mean, he managed, for lack of a better word, he managed the game pretty well. He was sacked 3 times, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Not a terrible stat sheet, but he wanted to make a name, and he wanted to kind of push the Broncos forward. But ultimately, throwing the ball in the air in those conditions with Gonzalez playing at corner is it's not a recipe for anything good to happen. So a gallant effort from Stidham, but I think with all the talk that Peyton had all week, he didn't embarrass himself, but he didn't put the performance in that Peyton had talked up. It was just a pedestrian performance, you want to say. He kept them in the game, a game manager, for lack of a better word, and just ended up coming short in the end.
It's an incredible evening for Patriots fans. I look, for a long time, like, this team are in a rebuild. They've gone through some highs and lows over the course of the last few years. Mike Vrabel there, just as they're just trying their second head coach to play in the Super Bowl, now represents his team as head coach. He was Kubiak, former Broncos head coach, ironically, who was the first one. We'll probably get into this one in more detail tomorrow night. I'm trying to chew the fat over everything else to get on through this game. I'm sure more will come of it. For Broncos fans, they will always rue the fact that Bo Nix got injured late on last week against the Bills in that divisional round game, and they'll wonder what could have been, having been the one seeds. For Patriots, it's on to Santa Clara. For Shane Brennan, we do have a representation of the team with their team in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, which will make for some interesting and enticing conversations over the course of the week when we're all out in San Francisco. I'm looking forward to your company, Ciaran, back together again. We haven't seen each other since we saw the Giants beat the Eagles. I knew I had to get the Giants in somewhere. That is our instant reaction of the AFC Championship game. Thanks very much, Ciaran. Appreciate it.
No problem.